bore you if you want to be back in the classroom and so on.
So exciting.
But I'd like you to walk away from my classes, even if you didn't enjoy quilting, I want you to feel you got good value for your money. So I've always felt that a teacher who is being paid is yours for the day. You can ask what you like. You're being paid. Why should you say, no, wrong class, don't ask about that? People think it's generous, but it's not generous, because what I'm doing is giving you the first chapter of the next book. And some people will go and make these and be happy, but otherwise, I know if I come back to the Netherlands, you will ask for this class and lots of people will sign for it. So it makes it easy to fill. Okay, you have a drawing, but you don't want to make something this big. It would be impossible. So you need to make it bigger. At home, I have one of the very old-fashioned overhead projectors that you open up and it points at the wall. I put this on top with a bit of sticky tape and I point it at the wall and I put tracing paper, big tracing paper, because you need one the right way and one the wrong way. Because I use Vlasifix or Steamer-Seam or something. When you trace this the right way, it reverses. So you have to be able to have one the right way and one the wrong way. And tracing paper, you can see both sides. Okay? The other way you can do it, if you don't have an overhead projector, and most people don't, but I always tell people, this is the time. If you put an ad on the computer on I don't know, you must have all classifieds or something like this, and say, I want an overhead projector less than €20, someone will say, I have 6 in this school, do you want some? Just check they work, because the bulb is very expensive. But the other thing you can do is take this to a photocopier who does architect drawings, big ones, and you can put it on top. You can get him to make one big blow up, however big you want. Usually I show this to them and I say, I want the bottom to be that long. And they make it. They measure my hands and then they make it. But they're used to me down there. And then you have a big picture, the size that you might want to make. And you also get them to hit the mirror image and make the other way. If they don't have a mirror image button, put this the other way and do exactly the same one. So it's the same size and you get the same enlargement, because the next step is to put your paper or your tracing paper on the table, something white underneath so you can see through it. Put fabric on top, thin fabric like the white fabric you're sewing with today, and trace every line in pencil. Pencil, not your overhead pen, because if you iron an overhead projector pen, it goes yellow and it stains all the fabrics that you put on top. So pencil. You draw every line again, every single line. You're making colour by number chart. But this time, don't write the names of the colours, because sometimes if you put snow on top, you can see snow underneath. And it looks bad. And I know that because the student did it. And then you take the fabric away, and if you're using tracing paper, you turn it upside down. And if you're using a photocopy, you get the other photocopy that is the mirror image, and you put your Vlasifix on top with the paper side up, or Steamer-Seam, and you trace now onto that. So you've got 4 drawings. You've got this, you've got the big one, and you've got one on fabric in pencil and one on Vlasifix in pencil. Or fusible webbing, anyone will do. But don't use the thick Steamer-Seam, it's too thick. Okay? Now you start. You fold a nice thick sheet on the table and you put the drawing on fabric on top of it, looking at you, so it just fits. And sometimes I actually use 2 sheets, so it's really thick, because I'm going to do my ironing right in front of me. I don't get up and down and go to the ironing board and come back. And the first thing you do, you pick up your Vlasifix piece and you start with something that's far away, like the sky. If it's a landscape, it's the sky. So you would cut the shape on the Vlasifix exactly on the line, only one piece at a time, exactly on the line, and then you get a big piece of paper and you choose the fabric using one of these, making sure the amount of light or dark is correct. It's not so worrying if the colour is a bit more green or a bit more purple, but it really matters that it looks the right amount of light or dark. Otherwise, everything starts to go wrong. If someone makes this sky really dark blue, all of a sudden all the rest looks wrong. Because then this yellow has to be brighter and lighter, and you know, it changes the other colours. So try to get the right amount of light, and I iron it, the Vlisifix, onto the back of the fabric. I put it on my sheet. I iron the fabric with the wrong side pointing towards me. I put the Vlisifix down on top. I start in the centre. Don't iron like this, because it squishes the glue out, it makes bubbles and you get lumps. And just push the air out from the webbing like so. And I don't do so much ironing on the first ironing because I want the glue on the top still to stick to the next one. And then I come back to the middle and I push it out this way. Okay, and then I cut it out again, because now you have to cut the fabric. The fabric was before in one piece. And I cut it a little bit bigger, almost nothing. I cut a seam allowance, and we'll pass this round, that looks about that wide. That's all. Because if you have things going up and down like that, and the seam allowance is more, you've lost it. It's not there anymore because you fill the hole. So it needs to be very thin. And you cut it that little bit bigger, you take the paper off, you have your calico or cream with the drawing, you put it in the right place without the paper, put it in the right place so that your pencil line is completely covered, because that little bit of extra goes over the pencil line, and you iron it down. And then you cut the next one and you iron it down. And every piece, once you've finished, every piece has to be stitched and completely stitched, because if you don't do it, they can start lifting off and curling and things. I always stitch them down completely around the edges. And if you have, what was I going to say? I hate it when things start disappearing at the end of the day. So, yes, you have to stitch it down, and then I usually tell people to start with the piece that looks as if it's going to fall off when they say, where shall I start? And if you have, say, 6 greens in your picture, I choose a medium green for the bobbin, and I just change the greens on the top to match, and sew every green. And then I might put brown for rocks or grey for rocks in the bobbin, and I might have light, medium, dark greys to do the rocks.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Do you stitch straight or with a small zigzag?
It varies. It varies. You know, I need almost a whole day to go through this class with you, but
the surroundings, I mean.
If something is smooth, like the rock, I stitch straight. If something is ragged, like the tree, I use free motion, and I'm doing this. Because that way you catch the thing behind also. Because if you're using straight stitch, you also have to stitch the sky behind the rock. You can't assume that you're going to catch the two when you have very small overlap.
Okay. You don't use invisible thread?
I use invisible thread all the time now for portraits, when I'm doing faces. You can use invisible thread. And if I'm using invisible thread, I do a very small open zigzag. And I match the colour underneath to the colour that I'm working on, so that if you get a tiny dot for some reason, it doesn't show. But do a tension test. And if you're using invisible thread, use a Microtex 60 needle. It controls the thread much better than any other needle. 60, really fine needle, a really thin needle. And it has a very fine scarf, and it will control the thread better, and you won't have the problems that a lot of people have. There's only 2 sorts of invisible thread, very good and absolute rubbish. Nothing else in between. So buy a good one. But with the faces, yes, I do the whole face with a small zigzag invisible thread. I use the dark colour one on the dark areas and the light colour one on the light areas.